An objection.
Reserving the right to object.
The senator from Kansas.
Madam President, thank you. Clearly, this is an important issue and one that has received attention by the Committee on Veterans Affairs, and will continue to make certain that the decisions that are made by department officials, by the administration, are compatible with the well-being and best interests of those who served our nation and are now veterans. But, Madam President, the Department of Veterans Affairs does need reform. The status quo is not acceptable. We need to make certain that every veteran, every member of our military who is now a veteran, that seeks services from the Department of Veterans Affairs, that their needs are met. It's been a long-time goal of mine to make certain that the promises that were made to those who served are promises that are kept. And we know things aren't as they should be at the Department of Veterans Affairs. All of us in this Senate have staff members who work on cases, what we call casework, to try to solve the challenges that a veteran meets in dealing with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We all walk the streets of our home states. We have meetings and have conversations with those, and often it is a veteran who comes to tell us the story of what help they still need. And while I continue to believe that nearly everyone, most who work at the Department of Veterans Affairs, many who are veterans themselves, are working diligently to make sure that their colleagues, their veterans that they share that service with, are treated in the fashion that provides them with the best quality care and provides them the benefits that they have earned. But yet we know the system is still far from being able to accomplish that goal. In fact, the Department of Veterans Affairs, so many times we have reports from the Inspector General who outline dramatic changes that need to be made and outline instances in which the Department of Veterans Affairs has failed in significant ways in meeting the needs of those who served our nation. We have about 150,000 to 200,000 veterans in Kansas. They are a significant component of the nature of our state. They are respected and admired by their fellow Kansans, and it is important for us to make sure that the Department of Veterans Affairs is living up to its commitment. It's our job as senators, it's our job as members of the Committee on Veterans Affairs to do those things. And the senator from Connecticut is right. We have provided the tools to the department, new opportunities for veterans to be better served and served in more ways, combating suicide, making certain that mental health services are more readily available, providing services through telemedicine, and most recently, well, almost most recently, the PACT Act, which provided new and additional benefits, both health care and financial, to those who served in Southeast Asia and who served in Iraq and Afghanistan in regard to toxic exposure, and even more recently than that, care for and support for caregivers, those who serve their loved ones, family members who help veterans throughout the day in their circumstances, the Elizabeth Dole Act. So we are actively engaged in trying to make certain, and hopefully making progress in making certain, that more veterans receive better care at every opportunity. But the VA still needs a serious and thorough evaluation, and a component of that is workforce. My goal is to make certain that the Department of Veterans Affairs evaluates how many people it needs to meet its mission and then adjusts accordingly, whether that's more or less, but to right-size the VA to make certain that those veterans who are in need of care, who deserve their benefits, are well cared for and receive the care and compassion that they deserve. So, Mr. President, I'm going to offer a resolution myself. In order to get to that point, I need to object to the senator from Connecticut's resolution. His unanimous consent request.
Objection is heard.
Madam President,
the senator from
I want
Connecticut.
to respond very quickly by saying, first of all, I think we share a lot of goals, but we need action. The VA is in crisis, impending right now in real time, affecting real lives in real time. People who need mental health care now, who need the Veterans Crisis Line now, who need those counselors and psychiatrists now. And what I'm asking is unanimous consent for a resolution that calls for restoring the VA workforce to meet that crisis and to doing right by our veterans. It shouldn't be partisan. It isn't partisan. I've been critical of the VA under Democratic administrations, under General Shinseki when he was there, and the delays were unacceptable. And nobody was more direct or critical than I was. We can be bipartisan in our praise and in our criticism, but we need to stand up to the Musk, Trump, slash, and trash regime that has been so harmful to our veterans. And we can't go about it with business as usual. These draconian, indiscriminate cuts are doing harm to our veterans as we speak. And to avoid action is not only inappropriate, it is injustice to our nation's heroes. Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President.
The senator from Kansas.
Madam President, I intend to ask for an unanimous consent agreement in regard to this issue of our care and well-being of our veterans. I would indicate that, to my knowledge, the Department of Veterans Affairs has 1,500 fewer employees today than it did at the beginning of the year. While there is conversation and talk and, in fact, a stated goal about the sizing of the department, those steps, either because they are not yet ready at the Department of Affairs to take those steps, the evaluations and understanding of what's necessary for the right sizing of the workforce haven't been completed, or courts have put in place a stay against any reductions in the workforce. Today, we are 1,550 fewer employees at the department than we were at the beginning of the year. I would remind also my colleagues that in the last administration, late in the budget request by the Biden administration, there was a request for the reduction of 10,000 employees at the Department of Veterans Affairs. What my resolution will do is, it's the sense of the Senate that the Secretary of Veterans Affairs should make certain that staffing levels at the Department of Veterans Affairs meet the customer, the veterans' demand to efficiently deliver timely, high quality and health. Excuse me, let me say that again. The goal that we would say in our sense of the Senate is that the Secretary of Veterans Affairs should make certain that staffing levels at the Department of Veterans Affairs meet customer demand, veteran demand, to efficiently deliver timely, high-quality health care and benefits. And that the Secretary, in close coordination with Congress, with veteran service organizations, and other such stakeholders as the Secretary would deem necessary, needs to consult with them in reshaping the workforce at the department. That we should further enhance our efforts to reduce veteran suicide and improve veterans' mental care. The Secretary should faithfully follow the Mission Act, allowing for care in the community. The Secretary should conduct a comprehensive review of policies governing official time to ensure that taxpayer dollars are utilized efficiently and that primary mission of the department supporting veterans is fully prioritized, and that the department's leadership and management should have the ability to act swiftly to ensure we remove employees who have engaged in misconduct or whose actions and performances fall short in providing high-quality care and benefits. The Secretary should enhance the efficiency, accountability, and cost management in the acquisition programs in the department. We need to make changes at the Department of Veterans Affairs, and this resolution would indicate our support for doing so. And I would now say, as if in legislative session, and notwithstanding Rule 22, I ask unanimous consent, the Senate proceed to the consideration of my resolution, which is at the desk. I further ask unanimous consent that the resolution be agreed to, that the preamble be agreed to, and that the motions to reconsider be considered and made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.